This game's not won on social media. This game's not won on telephones. This game is won with shoulder pads, helmets, mouth guards, and sweat. That's how the game is won.
Week 9 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare. With us is Coach Bill Neese. Coach Show brought to you by Dick Lumpkins. Got a bump, call lump. Indians fall in a tough one on Friday at Tippecanoe, 23-20. Coach, it was one of those games where the Indians really were in control a good portion of the game. Fourth quarter, the momentum shifted, and once it shifted, we really struggled to get that momentum back.
That's true. And, each football game, a popular saying from Bear Bryant is that each game, it comes down to maybe 3 or 4 important, crucial plays. You just don't know when they happen until after the game's over with. Mm-hmm. And so thus you have to play everything as importantly as possible. But I think the biggest thing that we struggled with was the fact that we turned the ball over 3 times. And when I say 3 times, I mean we turned the ball over twice, and then the third time we turned over possession by roughing a kicker. And that might as well have been a turnover itself because we had possession of the football at that point. So I think those were the three big things. Big play-wise, we kept them, down to 1 big play. We had 5 big plays, with our passing game. Another interesting statistic of the game was that both running backs and 2 outstanding running backs played that game. Those guys combined for 50 rushing attempts, and no run was over 10 yards that entire game. So people were working. They were working for the yardage. They were working for things. And for us to turn the ball over like that was very uncharacteristic of us.
Well, correct. And Coach, as you talk about, I thought our defense was fantastic. One guy you can't help but say really was outstanding was Sam Schmeezing. He was really, in fact, he was so good that the announcer had made note of it. Again, but that's no different. Sam's always in every game. That's just who he is. But again, we force them in situations to punt, and as you said, you talk about the penalties. That hurts you. But as a team, I look at us. Yeah, we lose this one, but we've got 2 more to go, and then we've got postseason, which I know we'll talk about that on down the road. It's the next one. It's picking up the next one, and we learned from where we're at. Tip is a good football team. There's no doubt about that. That'll help us as we move on.
It is. It's a sin if you don't sit down and take a good look at everything that you do and learn from it. Sometimes you win a football game and some things are a little sloppy, and you go into the film room and you kind of go, well, let's get into next week, and you kind of glaze over a little bit. Hey, make sure we correct that. But I think anytime you lose a football game, and thank goodness for us, it's not it's not very often around here that you need to sit back, and it causes you to sit back and examine. And I know a lot of the coaches have examined some of the things that we want to make sure we're doing better at practice. Some of the things we want to make sure we're emphasizing to our people, and communication during the course of the games and things along those lines.
Coach, you talked about we've said this through the years. How the week 6, 7, and 8 can be that grind, and as you're moving through it. You're talking about evaluating yourselves just as players and coaches and what you're doing as you're moving into week 9. And what was this tempo and mood of practice with the players today?
Well, I think the tempo and the mood, once we got out there, weight room was pretty quiet. Everybody came in, did the weights. Monday meeting. They weren't sure where we were heading, where the meeting was going to head. And then once we got through that portion of it, once we got through that little area, then got on the field, kind of got moving. A couple people started, getting going, and next thing you know, we're back to practice as usual. I think that's kind of the way you want it done. I don't want everybody moping around about it, clear into Monday. But on the other hand, I don't want people coming in here Monday acting like nothing happened.
Yep.
So I think there is a mourning period, so to speak. But it was time to take off, the black clothes and move on and better get ready for a good Vandalia Butler football team.
Well, Vandalia Butler certainly has shown this year that they can be a good team, and I know they've had their moments where they've kind of had their disappointments, but I've got to believe they're going to be ready to go for the Indians. Of course, everybody is when the Indians come to town when we're at Butler on Friday night for the kickoff at 7 p.m.
You can believe that, and they had a close game this week with Greenville, and they've been able to beat West Carrollton, and they've been able to beat Fairborn, and they've played close in a lot of games. They had a 10-7 game on a Thursday night that we all saw on TV, and they had another close game. I think it's a 12-6 game against Sydney. So they've been in a lot of football games. They've got a lot of great players. They're in year 2 of that system and getting used to everything that's going on, around there. So we don't have time to sit back and feel sorry for ourselves too much. And when we look at the game, there was a lot of good things we did. It's not a game where you say, hey, let's throw the film away, because there's nothing of value here. That's not the case at all. As you mentioned before, we had our 2 inside linebackers combined for 25 tackles. And in the course of the game, every one of our receivers had a catch over 20 yards, and our quarterback threw 25 times and was not sacked once. So I think those are some things that we can build on. I think we continue to get better at the front end. We went into the season, nobody even could tell who might a defensive lineman be, not let alone who's going to be any good one way or the other. And so we came in and we knew we had that good linebacking core back, but we had to make sure we had that back end and especially that front end back. And our defensive lines continue to get better. They continue to make some tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And we'll continue to keep working on that, and trying to get them at that next level. This is where one of the big things we talked about tonight at the meeting is we can't lose track now at this point of just coming out and polishing stuff. We still got to try to get better. So we came out tonight. We had a pretty brisk, our 11-on-9 drill, which is our starters versus our starters minus 2 defensive linemen, to kind of ease up on the pass rush a little bit. We had a great 12 play 9-on-11 drill. Came back and did some things one-on-one. We had some one-on-one stuff. So we were fairly competitive, and I think that's what kind of got the mood going a little bit tonight.
Well, Coach, if you look back historically, even until last year's state champion, we're 8 games into the season. There's 2 games left. There's a lot that can happen. I think last year's state champion in Winton Woods, who certainly we had the opportunity to play, they struggled at the beginning and middle of their season and lost. I think they ended up losing 3 and ended up making a run there at the end of the year because of what you're talking about, getting better. They committed to it.
You got to get better. You got to stay healthy. You got to keep people healthy, and that's the fine line. Whereas you want to get better, you want to be competitive. You want to do this, but on the other hand, you don't want to be that guy saying, "Hey, why were we doing a live drill on a Tuesday when in week 8?" So, but you have to still be able to get that fine line, and I think tonight we were able to get that fine line. We did some outstanding running tonight. I thought we worked on our conditioning pretty well. So I think we accomplished a lot for our Monday practice.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about Butler specifically. You talk about a coach that's in his second-year program, so he's establishing himself, and those guys are starting to get an idea of what they do. Remind the Indian Nation what they do a little bit on offense and defense.
Well, offensively, they run an offense very similar to what a lot of teams in our league are doing, and that is they run predominantly out of a shotgun, predominantly out of it with an H-back, which would be a fullback type tight end. They also run a 2x2 set, and they run a 3x1 set. So there's a lot of things, but everybody always has then their little nuance that they like to do, and I think in their case, that any given point they can go under center and they can run a 2-back or a 3-back offense and run a little bit of some of the stuff that people call bunch offense, one way or the other. But that 2-back, 3-back stuff is something you got to be ready for, at the same time. So that's what they do offensively. Defensively, again, very similar to a lot of the teams that we're playing, and that is they're running a 50 front and odd front defense, and they've got the 2 more of a 3-4 than a 5-3. So I think Fairborn's more of a 52, excuse me, not 5-3, 52. But I think this is more of a 3-4 where you got 2 guys that are kind of back and then coming forward and then getting you in a guessing game as to where they're going to play and how fast they're going to come. So when our guards get around a corner, we've got to be able to match up and see where those guys are at.
But when I look at their roster and their team, and it's no different this year's team versus I look at the Butler's teams through the years history. They've always got athletes. They've always got guys that can make plays, and this team's no different. They have guys that can do that.
Yeah, they've got guys that can do that. They got their quarterback was an all-league honorable mention quarterback last year, and he's almost at the same pace. Whenever a returning quarterback comes back, what we play, we always have his stats up from last year and this year, and he is almost a carbon copy of where he was last year in terms of how many times he's thrown, how many yards he has, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's an outstanding thrower, and he's also a threat running the football a little bit when he keeps it on his own.
Coach, just kind of a fun fact question, I guess, much more for you. You've been here for obviously 31 years. The Butler has been another team. Of course, they've been in our division. We've had a great rivalry and a great series with them where it's gone back and forth through the years with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have. The 1 year, I think we probably had maybe three or four Division I guys, and they had legitimately 6 Division I guys, and 2 of them went to the NFL. So there was some talent on the field, on a couple of those games. Yeah, definitely.
Well, certainly Friday night will be a key matchup here for us to continue to move forward as we get through conference play week 9. Coach, our senior spotlights this week, we got 2 guys that really are quiet, but yet guys have made a true impact on the program, and Offenbacher and Slife. Talk a little bit about how those guys have really kind of helped us and helped the program, and how you've seen them grow and improve through the years.
Well, I think first of all, Bacher is a guy that's one of our special teams guys. He's been in the program for 3 years, and you always get into that. You always get into that deal going into your senior year. Well, I haven't started yet, and do I want to take the shot and keep going, hit the summer, do the whole thing, and hopefully get on a special team, or hopefully get in a little bit? And he took the shot, did it. He's on a couple of special teams. He's been able to come in when people get hurt. In our receiver corps. Tonight he actually made a couple good catches tonight during our 11-on-9 drill. So we're he came back from a pretty serious arm deal last year, and he's worked back in. He's almost full strength right now, if not full strength. And so we're really pleased with him. Great attitude, great worker. Now Slife, on the other hand, has been able to. He was a great player for us when he was a sophomore, and then he sat out his junior year. Came back this past year, and I wasn't sure if he was going to be too rusty to play. And he's been battling back, and through a couple injuries and so forth, he's been taking the majority of the reps over there at right tackle for us this year. And again, a very good technician, very, very, very precise at what he does. Same thing in the weight room. He's just a very meticulous guy, which is a major characteristic for most offensive linemen.
You talk about that's hard to do, to sit out your sophomore year, come back after sitting out your junior year after playing your sophomore year. That's tough to come back, not just physically but mentally, emotionally, and put all that investment into it. So
it is.
Yeah, it's good to see him. It was good to see him back out this year.
Oh yeah.
Coach, we certainly wish you guys all the best on Friday night as the Indians take on Butler.
Thank you.
Again, kickoff will be at 7 o'clock on Friday night at Butler High School. You can catch the highlights of the game on the Indian Nation Station YouTube channel on Monday after the coach's show, and certainly also on Spectrum Channel 5. We're going to talk to the players. We're going to talk to Mr. Slife and Mr. Offenbacher when we return. Welcome to Week 9 and Part 2 of the Bill Niece's Coaches Show, brought to you by Dick Lumpkins. Got a bump? Call Lump. The players portion. At this point, we're going to have our guys introduce their names and the positions that they play.
My name is Peyton Offenbacher. I play wide receiver and defensive back.
My name is Kevin Slife. I play right tackle.
Kevin, I'm going to let you hold it for now. Kevin, for you, you're part of the offensive line, and for you, I know this is something that you've worked hard for, to put yourself in a position where you're playing quite a bit and contributing. Talk a little bit about yourself this year and what it's been like to be in the thick of things.
I don't have too much to say about it. I just like it. I like hitting.
What caught you on to pickle football? I mean, how long have you been playing, and to you, what have made you stick with pickle football through the years?
I've been playing since 3rd grade, and I just don't think any team's as good as pickle teams.
Spoken like a true Indian. Mr. Offenbacher, how about yourself?
Well, I've loved every last minute of it. I've played my whole life as well. So it's just been one good ride for us.
Yeah, you guys have been in a situation where this year, you know, we're having a good season. We're in the thick of things. We're closing out the regular season, and there is a light, although we can't talk about it yet. There's a light there with postseason play coming up there right around the corner. It's an exciting time of the year. You know, you get through a grind. When you get through weeks 6, 7, 8, it's kind of a grind. But you get to 9 and 10, you're starting to see, okay, hey, we're really starting to see maybe we can make a run here. And this team's good enough they can do that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, Coach Neese has always said take week by week, so that's what we've been doing. So this week we're going to focus on Butler, and then move on to the next week, focus all this week about them, and then we'll just take the next step.
Ladies and gentlemen, he didn't take the bait. Yeah, all right, good job. All right. How about you, Slife? Talk a little bit about what you see here, and we'll go off Offenbacher. You got week 9 right now, so you got Butler. So talk a little bit about what that is for you and what you see your role in that game.
I kind of just take it as another game to get better. You got these whole weeks of practice. There's a lot of stuff I have to work on personally to get better at, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm going to ask you both this question because I'm not asked this question to anyone, but we're on the last road game of the year. Do you guys like playing on the road? What's it like to play on the road? And when you get on the bus and you go down, and sometimes when you go in other people's places, there's a bit of a rush when you got people rooting against you. Do you like playing on the road?
Well, it don't matter to me. Football's football, but I do kind of like it because I like the feeling going down there and whooping somebody on their own home turf.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing as well for me. I like going down there and just taking care of business at someone's own home field.
Good for you guys. Okay. Well, guys, we certainly wish you guys luck as you guys move into the last 2 games of the year, because I know for you guys as seniors, you want to go out and you want to go out with a bang, and you want to make sure that you lay it all out there, and we certainly wish you well on that. Let's talk a little bit about post-high school. What's that like for you guys? What you're going to be looking at? I know you guys have got and we probably should have mentioned this before, and you do other things besides play football, so why don't you talk a little bit about that?
I also play baseball as well, and I'm really looking forward to that season coming up.
Yeah, so you know, the baseball season, it's nice to be a 2-sport athlete, but once we get through baseball season, we'll be it's time to graduate. What will that look like for you when after Memorial Day weekend here at Alexander Stadium when you get your diploma? What things have you have in mind, maybe?
Well, I plan on going to college, but it's kind of undecided at this point. But I'm either deciding on studying electrical engineering or sports management.
And from what I understand, I heard the word Tiffin come up. I think I read it somewhere in one of your bios. And you've got a brother up there.
Yeah.
Has that been helpful for you to kind of get on campus there and see him and just see what it's like?
Yeah, I really like the campus up there. It's pretty sweet. And, you know, just go up there and go to college with my brother would be a really cool experience.
Super. Kevin, what do you think about post-high school?
I'm not too sure. I'm just going to go right into the industry.
In the workforce?
Yep.
Yeah, good for you. Kevin, what kind of workforce are you thinking about? Anything in particular?
Just something engineering and try to go to college for it a little bit.
Okay. Well, we certainly wish you well with that. And you guys are great to be around. We appreciate all you've given to the program, and thank you for making Pickwick football a little extra special on Friday nights. Good luck to you guys. Just a reminder, the game on Friday night will be the last visiting role that the Indians will have. They'll be wearing white jerseys for the last regular season game on Friday night at Vandalia Butler. Kickoff will be at 7 p.m. Our intentions are to have some kind of footage on the Indian Nation station next Monday after the Bill Neese's Coaches Show, and you can also find that on the Indian Nation station YouTube channel and Spectrum Channel 5. For Mr. Offenbacher and Mr. Slife, I'm your host, Chip Hare. We will see you next week.